Hey everyone, in this video we'll build a simple page to show all businesses inside of a category, which will link to the cards we created in the last video, and we'll also build a simple business page which will link from our category page. This page right now won't have much content, it'll just have our test business data, which won't show a whole lot, and it won't have any images yet because we haven't implemented any of that yet. But this will give us a basic page to build off of later. And we also get into Django filtering for the first time as well. So to build the site, we will first have a few videos building out all the customer user functions. Like in this video, we're building the categories and the businesses. And then later we'll come back and build out the other functions like to add a business and all the other stuff that we need to add as well. So we're going to take this step by step and just kind of do chunks of it at a time until we have it all done. So let's go ahead and get started with these changes in this video. Okay, so the first step would be to create the category URL and the URL route for that, but we already have that here. We have our categories folder and we have our slug and our index. Right now, this just has categories and this just says slug. It doesn't really do much else. It doesn't do anything else yet. And so let's go ahead and work on that. This slug page or this index page, for now, we're not going to touch it. We'll mess with this later. Let's just build the slug page. So what this is going to do is when we pass in a slug into the URL, so we'll go to /categories/ food and drinks or whatever it is, we want to go ahead and show that page and all the businesses in that page. And we're just going to list them kind of in these cards from the top to bottom. So first things first, let's go ahead and build the cards out, and then we'll use our get server-side props to bring in our data and actually show the businesses from the database. So what we'll do here is we're going to go ahead and remove this div and replace it with a layout. So we create this layout component in the previous video, right here in our layout.js, just to show the nav bar and everything. We're going to go ahead and use that here. We're going to go ahead and import it here from the top. So import layout from, we'll do /components. Let's go up twice, looks like. Components /layout. And now inside of our layout here, let's go ahead and use our material UI grid. So this is building off of all the material UI stuff we did last time. We're going to go ahead and continue that here. And so we'll open up a grid first. And to use the material UI grid, we need two grid items. First one is the container for the grid, and the next one is the actual grid items. So we'll have two items, and we can define that here by putting grid then item. Let's go ahead now and create two of those. And this first one will be for our filters. In the future, we're going to add a video where we filter, this by maybe price, or only show businesses with a certain amount of positive reviews or whatever it is. We can determine that later. But so we want to go ahead and keep a spot for that open up here. And that's going to be this first grid item. We want this to be kind of like a small sidebar almost. And so this should be smaller than our other side. And we can set the sizes using these XS and these MD properties. So XS means on small screens and above, or small screens to whatever the next prop is. So in this case, if we were to have just a XS, it would say on extra small screens and above, this is the size we want this grid to be. And we could put something like 12, and that means it will take the entire width of the screen. Just like in Bootstrap, you have 1 through 12, 12 being 100%, and then 6 being 50%, etc. from there. But on larger screens, we only want to go about a quarter of the way across the screen. And so we can do that here by adding MD equals 3. And so what this will do here is we have on small screens, it will take up the entire width. On larger screens, so we have more screen real estate, it will only take up a quarter of the width. So we'll have one sidebar here and our businesses showing up over here. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, hopefully it will once we actually run this page and see how it all looks. So for now, I'll put to do filters just to keep that so we know what that's there for. Okay, and now for our grid item down here, we want to do something similar. So on small screens, we're going to go ahead and make it go 100%. But then if we have more screen room here on medium or larger, if you do MD and nothing else after that, it will go from medium and up. So if it's a medium screen or large or an extra large screen, it will all be the same number here. And in this case, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and have it take up the rest of the screen. So it's pretty easy. We just do 12 minus 3 and we'll get 9. And so this will be 9. And that will take up the rest of the width on the right. And this will have our cards here. So I'm going to go ahead and build a test card first, just to show everything's working. And then we'll go ahead and bring in our data and actually map through them and show each business in this category. So to make a card, we can go ahead and just use the card component inside Material UI. And I'm going to go and add a few things here. Now inside of our card here, we're going to go ahead and put a box. Inside of our box, we're going to go ahead and put a card content. Inside of the card content here, this will be another grid that will show some data on the business itself. So we'll go ahead and create another grid. And inside this grid, we'll put an item and we'll put on extra small equals 6. So on extra small and larger screens, it will only take up half the card. Now inside of this grid here, we're going to go ahead and put a typography, which is a component for text. We'll go ahead and close off that typography tag here. Variant equals H5. And so every typography will have a variant, and we can put this to be an H1 tag, H2, H3, H4, H5, a P tag. There's some subtitles. You can look at the documentation for this if you want to see all the different options. But this just gives us a way to standardize and keep all of our text looking like the same across the site. It's pretty useful in that regard. Okay, and now since we don't have any actual business data, we'll go ahead and just put some test data inside this card. So on this H5 heading here, I'm going to go ahead and put the business name. So I'll type business name. Next, below this typography, we're going to go ahead and put another typography, and this will have a variant equaling to subtitle, which will give it a smaller text than our title we have here with our H5. Actually, it'll be subtitle 1. And now inside this will be the price range. So I'm going to put just a couple $signs for now, since we don't have any actual data, and I'll close off the typography. Okay, next below that, we're going to go ahead and put a link, and this will link to the business website that we entered. So we'll do a link, and we'll do a variant equaling subtitle 1 once again, just to keep all this text here kind of the same size. We'll give an href, and this will equal, for now, we'll just put http:// localhost 3000 or whatever. We'll just go back to the home page. 3000, one more 0. Okay, there we go. And next, we're going to close off this tag and put in the business website. We're going to close off this link tag. Okay, finally, we'll put 2 more typography components inside this grid item. So make sure we're still inside this grid item here. And this will be for the phone number and the business description. So we do a typography with a variant equaling to subtitle 1 once again, and this will be the business phone. I'm going to close off this typography. Okay, next we'll put another one here, and this will have a variant once again equaling to subtitle 1. And then we will have the business description inside of here. Let's put description for now, though, as a placeholder. And that should be it for this first grid item. Next, we'll go ahead and create another grid item. And this will be item XS will equal 6 once again to take up the remaining space on the right. Then we'll go ahead and put in some more typography components here for the rest of the data. So first, for now, we're going to put a typography with a variant equaling to H5. And this will replace later with our reviews component. This will show the actual reviews, or the average reviews, and the number of reviews will show up here. And for now, don't worry about that. We'll build that in a future video. So for now, I'll put to do reviews. Next, below that, we're going to go ahead and show the business hours and the street and the address. So first, we'll create another typography component. We'll use a variant equaling subtitle 1. And then we'll add business hours right here. And we'll go and close off this typography component. And we'll add one more. And this will be a variant equaling to subtitle 1 once again. And this will be the address. Let's go ahead now and close off that component. And that should be it for that grid item. So we'll go and close off that grid item right like that. Okay, and I think that should be it. Let's go ahead and double check that we closed everything off. No, we did not. Okay, so I forgot to close off this card and all this other stuff here. So after we close out our grid, and this container here should go to our... Okay, yes, so after this grid here, we should have one grid. So right here, then we'll close off our card content. Then we'll go and close off our box. And then we'll go and close off our card. And then there should be 2 grids from there. So we'll do a grid, and we have our last grid right there. Oh, let's also go ahead and add a grid container up here as well. Every time we make a grid, we want to put it inside of a container. So that should go right there, and we should close that off right before our grid, our card content. So right there. Now let's double check, make sure that's all of our, all of the tags we need to close. Okay, and now we need to go ahead and import everything in. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. This will be available in the GitHub repository if you want to go there to get it. Just because it's just this import statement, I don't want to type this out and take the time for that. We can import all of these things we added, as well as make styles, which we'll use here in a second, from Material UI/core. Okay, and that should be it for this page for now. Let's go ahead and take a look at it now and see what it looks like. So we go here to localhost 3000. We click on one of these. Right now it does nothing. What we're going to do is we're going to link it to this eventually. But for now, we'll go ahead and just add it to the URL. So we'll go to categories / we'll go /food and drinks. Okay, and right now you'll see that it's kind of cut off, and we'll fix all of these things here in a second. But you'll see here we have things showing up right here with this card. Let's go and add some styles to clean this up a little more and make this look a little better. And so we can do that with our make styles function, which we used before here when we use this use styles, make styles to set this root, margin, and max width. We're going to do the same thing here on our category page. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this to start, this use styles function. And this will go outside of our exported React function. So we'll go into our Slug page, go to the top here right below our imports, and we'll add this right here. And we already imported this, so this should be good. Let's go and add some styles. So what we'll do here is we'll have a root style, and for now I'll keep this the same. This is margin and this max width, except I'm gonna get rid of this auto. So we'll have a margin of 75, let's go 25 for now. So a margin of 25 and a max width of 95 viewport widths. And let's go ahead and add 2 more styles as well. So first what we'll do, we'll add a subtitle for all of our subtitle text. I'm gonna go make that gray. I think it'll look a little better if it's not all, just the black default text. So we'll make that one gray, and actually let's put this inside of quotes like that. Next, we can add another object here, and we'll add a card class. And this class will just make the cursor a pointer when we hover over it. That way, when we know we can click on it to go to the actual business details once we make that later on. Let's go and save that. Now let's go and add these classes to our JSX down here. And of course, first thing we'll need to do, actually real quick, let's rename this. It says ID. Let's rename this to be this category, I guess is fine. Anyway, okay, so the first thing we'll need to do is we need to use this use styles class. And we can do that by creating a variable, we'll call it classes, and set it equal to use styles, like that. Next, we can go ahead and use these classes within our JSX. So first things first, on this grid container right here, we'll add a class name. And this class name will be classes.root, which of course maps to this root class right here. Let's go ahead and save that and take a look at our page. Oh, I forgot to change the default export as well. So this down here will be category, like that. Okay, let's come back and do this again. Looks like we might need a little more padding on the top there. Let's go ahead and do margin top, and we'll do it with this text like this, where we have all one word with the second word and after that to be capitalized, since we're using it in JavaScript and not in CSS. Let's go ahead and put that to a margin top of 75. Okay, there we go. Now we can see everything. See this to-do filters text over here. Well, obviously we'll change that to be our filters, which will show up right here. But for now, we don't have that, so we're not going to worry about it. And we have our business details right here. And this could probably be improved later to make it look better, but for now, this is just fine with how it is. Okay, next we need to go ahead and add the rest of the classes. So next we have our subtitle and our card. And we'll go ahead and put this on the business description. So the description on our card right now just kind of looks the same as everything else. Let's go ahead and make this just a gray, as it's not kind of like this main information up here will be in black and the description down here will be in gray. Let's go and just try that and see how that looks. So on our description right here, we'll go ahead and add a class name. This will be equal to classes dot subtitle. And there we go. So now it's just kind of this grayed out text right there. I think that might look a little better. We'll leave it for now. If it looks better differently, once we have our data, we can change it later. Okay, the last thing is we want to add the class to make this turn into a pointer when we hover over this card. And that'll be pretty simple. All we need to do is go up to our card text up here, and we'll add a class name right here. This will be equal to classes dot card. We'll save that. Oops. Go ahead and save that. And we'll come back and double check, and there we go. So right now it doesn't do anything, but we have that set up. Okay, now that's our basic categories page. Let's go ahead and pull our data from our database and show our the businesses within our category. And to do this, we'll need to use our server-side props function we used before. So we go into our home page here, and we'll see if this get server-side props. We're getting our data from Axios like this. We're going to do something similar. So we're going to copy this. We're going to come into our Slug page here and down here, or wherever, I guess. Okay. And so for this, what we'll need to do is we need to get all the businesses within the categories. So to do this, we'll need to do some sort of filter. And what we want this to be is we want to be able to go to categories and pass an argument of slug equaling a specific slug. So it will look something like this. And then we can pass in the slug, which we can get from the URL. So we can go up here into our get server-side props. We can get our URL query, and that has a slug object inside of that, which we can grab, or slug value, I should say, inside of that. And we can pass it in right here. Now, the only problem is right now our Django backend doesn't have this functionality to add this slug. So we need to go ahead and make that change. But one thing I forgot to do here, this also needs to be wrapped inside of curly braces. The query object does as well. We're going to just put some spaces there, make it look a little better. Okay, now let's go ahead and jump into our backend and make this all look better. So to use this Django filters, if I can pull it up here, they have this integration DRF page, as well as information on how to install it. I'll link this in the description if you want to take a look at this. I'm going to go through it here now as well. So first thing we do is we need to install that. So what we'll do here is we'll jump into our backend. We'll stop the server. We'll run a pip install Django_filter. And that should be installed. I already have it installed, so it's going to just tell me that. And that, once we have installed, we can go ahead and run our server again. And now we can jump into our backend and make these changes. So first things first, we need to go ahead and make sure we have this slug field on our model, which we don't currently. So we're going to jump into our reviews, and go into our models.py. And we're going to go and add this slug field. So in our category here, let's go and add a new field. We'll call it slug. This equals a models.chart field. And this will have a max length equaling to 100. We'll make it unique. That way there can't be duplicates, because that would make these URLs not work right. And then we'll go ahead and put a blank equals true and null equals true. Okay, and we're going to copy this field and put it on our business as well, because we'll need that later. So we'll come down here to our business, replicate the name, I'll paste that in right there. Now make sure you go ahead and migrate these changes to your database by running migrate and make migrations. So we'll stop the server and we'll run make migrations, and then we'll run migrate, and that will migrate those changes. You can run your server again. Now we have Django Filter installed. We need to go ahead and add it to our backend. So first we'll go to our settings.py, and the first things we need to do first is we need to add it to our installed apps. So we'll go ahead and add Django Filters right here. Django_filters. Put a comma there at the end. Okay, and that is all we need right there. Next, let's go ahead and jump into our views.py, and this is where we'll actually add the filters right here. So what we'll do first, we'll go ahead and import our Django filter backend. So we'll do from Django filters dot rest framework import Django filter backend. And now we can add this filter backend onto our, we'll add it onto our category view set. So what we'll do here is below the serializer class, we'll add filter backends, set this equal to Django filter backend. Next, we go ahead and add our filter set fields. So we can type filter set underscore fields and set this equal to a list that holds all the fields we want to filter by. In this case, will just be the slug field. Also, make sure our Django filter backend is inside in a list like this, as well as our slug that should both be inside of lists. Okay, and that's all we should really need, I think, to get this working. Let's double check. I think we should be good. Let's go ahead and just try it out and see if it works. So inside of our front end here, we'll go to our slug page. And what we have here is we're pulling the data out of here, and we're getting it with await axuse.get, and we're getting the slug. We're going to return just one category. So we'll change categories to category. And in this case, data results will be a list. So let's go ahead and go to the first index to get the only one that will be there, since we're filtering by this slug. Okay, and I think that should be it for our get server-side props. Okay, we'll go ahead and save that. And now we'll go to use our map function to loop across this category.business field, which is on our category, to get all our businesses and display them inside of our JSX. So map is just like a way to loop over a collection. In this case, the collection is category.business. So what we'll do here is we'll go inside of our return right here. We'll come down to where we're showing our cards. So we want a new card for every business. So above this line here, we can go ahead and make a curly brace and do category.business. And actually, before I forget, up here at the top here, we need to bring in category as a prop. And so what this will return is just a props value, which we set here. Oh, it's giving me an error because let's go ahead and just close it off so it doesn't look like that. Okay, and so what we're getting here is this props value, and then we can go category. So we could do props.category, but it'd be much easier just to go straight to category. And luckily with JavaScript, we can do that pretty easily by destructuring it. So we'll put two curly braces, and then we'll put category right here. This allows us to skip the props dot part and just go to straight category, which we're doing here, category.business. Okay, and then we can do a dot map to map over all the businesses inside of this category. And then we go ahead and give it a name, a variable name. In this case, we'll do business and create an arrow function, and then put parentheses like that. And so what this is doing is we have a business value, and this value is set to the current business on this loop. So if there's 3 items, it'll go first time through business, we set to the first one, second time we set to the second one, third time to the third one. And then we can go ahead and do whatever we want for each business inside of these parentheses. Make sure you have parentheses and not curly braces, otherwise you'll get a weird error and you'll have a lot of problems trying to get that working. Okay, and now what we want to do is take our entire card and put it inside of these parentheses. So we'll grab card down to this card value right here. We'll cut that out. Looks like we have an extra one right there we don't need. And we'll go ahead and paste this inside of our category. Let's go ahead now and fix our indents. Like that, okay? Let's go ahead and save that and see what happens when we load our page. I think that should be it. Let's go ahead and try it out. Oh, we forgot to import Axios. We'll go ahead and do that real quick. Up here at the top, import Axios from Axios. Okay, looks like we might be getting an issue with our data. And this error can be caught by just adding a null value, but it's not going to fix our problem, but we should probably do it anyway. Just do an or null. That way it returns something, in this case, just null. But we still have an issue here with this business value or this category value being null. Oh, you know what? I didn't set the actual slug value, did I? That would be an issue. Yeah, the slug's null in all of these. Let's go ahead and fix that real quick. So we go to localhost 8000 categories. You can see our API inside of the browser and make it very easy to edit like we did before. Let's go ahead and log in and add slugs to all these fields. Okay, there we go. So I went ahead and set the slug to be what we expected to be: food and drinks, shopping, health, services. And now with that, we should be able to pull our actual businesses back out based off that field. We go back to our browser here. You'll see now we have one business showing up because inside that list, we went to take a look at it. Let's come down here. We have one result, so it's only going to show one business here. And as our food and drinks, and the one business on this is just our test business. Okay, there we go. So what we're doing here is all we're doing is making this API call, filtering it by the slug, which is within the URL. So looking at our page here, we have a /food-and-drinks, and that matches this slug right here. So it returns this one business that we have inside of that category. And then we can go ahead, I'll delete this line. Then we'll go ahead and just return in our props the first value in there, because if you look at the value, it's in a list right here, and a list of these dictionaries, and all we want is the actual dictionary. And this should only return one because the slug is unique, so we can go ahead and just grab the first value because we know there will always only be one there. And that is all we're doing there. And now let's go ahead and actually fill this data in with the values from the business from our API instead of these placeholder values. And this will be pretty simple. We can go grab each field off our business. So if we went into our business API, so with the API localhost /business, we can see all our fields right here. And these are the fields we're going to use off the business to show on that card. So what we'll do here is first we'll start with the business name, and that field is just called name. So I can access this by going to our variable name right here, business.name. So we'll go business.name, and you'll see it goes away. And the reason for that is we look at our business, the field's here and it's set correctly. But if we went back to our API root and to our categories, right now it's not bringing all the fields inside of our business field. It's only bringing the business link. Now we could make an API call to that link, but that's just a lot more work than what we need to do. What we need to do is we need to go inside of our backend code here into our serializers. So backend reviews serializers, and on our category serializer, we add one more line here on our category right here. We'll add a depth equaling to 1. We'll save that. Now if we were to come back to our API, refresh the page, And now it brings all of the actual fields instead of just the URL on our category. And so now if I went back here, you'll see that my first business is now showing up. So that's just one extra step we have to do to bring all of the fields from the related object to the other object we're referencing it from. Okay, now with that done, let's go ahead and fill out the rest of our fields. So next, instead of this placeholder here for the price range, we can go ahead and grab the price range from our business object. So we'll do business dot price underscore range. Save that. Let's go and check that real quick. And there we go. It has 4. I assume that's what it is here. 4. Yes. So it has $4 and that's showing up correctly there. Let's go ahead now and do the rest of these fields. So next we'll do the phone. And that will be, or actually next we have is the website. So what we'll do here is we will put in the business website, and this will be business.website, as well as the href will also be business website. So we'll go ahead and do business.website like that. Then we'll do the same thing for the phone. Business.phone. And then we'll do, for the description, we'll do business.description. And then for hours, once again, we'll do business hours. And then we'll go ahead and put the address. Now the address will be a little different because they're all spread out in different fields. If you look at our API, we have a street address, a city, a region, a postal code, and a country. So this will be a little different. What we'll need to do is first do the business.street address, business.street underscore address, put a space, and then we'll go ahead and put in our business.city. We'll put a comma and a space, and then we'll go and put in our business.region. And then finally, we'll go ahead and put the country, or actually put the postal code and then the country. So then we'll go ahead and do a business.postal underscore code, and then we'll do a space and then the business.country, right, like that, and we'll save that. Let's go and take a look at this now and see what it looks like. There's our field, there is our address, our hours, and phone number, and everything else looks good right there. Obviously, this is all just junk data and test data, but you can see how all the fields are showing correctly there. And obviously, this field will be used later. This to do reviews will be our reviews component later once we actually make that. And that is really it for this categories page. If we have more categories, it all show up down here in a list. But in this example, all we have is one, and that's fine for now. Now, the next step is to, once we click on a business, we want to go to the business page and then actually show all the details for that business on the business page. So let's go ahead and do that now. So what we can do here is we can add on click to this card and have it route us to that business. So to do this, we'll find our card and we'll add an on click function to it, or a prop to it. So in our card component here, let's go ahead and add an on click. This will equal, we'll pass inside these curly braces, we'll add a arrow function, and we'll do handle business click, which we'll create here in a second. And as an argument, we'll pass in the business. Now let's go ahead and create this handle business click function. So now up above our return function, we're gonna go and do a const handle business click that equals an arrow function, just like that. And then inside this arrow function, you want to pass in the business. So we'll change this to business. And then what we want to do here is use the NextJs router. So up here at the top, we'll go ahead and import use router inside curly braces, use router from, and in quotes here, we'll do next/router. We can go and create an instance of the router down here. So do a const router. This will equal use router. And now down here, we can use that router inside of our function. So we can do a router.push, and that will take us to whatever URL we pass inside as an argument. So in this case, we want to go to I guess we'll make it business and then the business slug. So this is going to be pretty similar to our category page, how we're going to the category based off of the slug. We'll do the same thing for the business. So do a business.slug. And I didn't actually set up the slug for the business either. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So we'll go here, we'll come into our business page right here. And let's go ahead and edit this one. Oh, you know what? I just found another issue. We named our URL field URL and not website. That's going to cause an issue later on. Let's go and fix that real quick. So let's go back into our Sublime Text Editor. Let's go inside of our backend and inside of our reviews folder and inside of our models. Let's change this field here to website. And let's go ahead and just migrate the changes. So we'll open up our backend terminal, stop the server, run Python 3 make migrations. Yes. And then go ahead and migrate those changes and run the server again. Okay, sorry about that. That is going to be an issue that we need to fix before we can do this. And now if we go back to our API here, refresh the page, now we'll have a URL that goes to the business and a website that goes to the business website. Okay, with that fixed, we can go ahead and update our slug. So click on the URL, and the slug will just be my-first-business, like that. And we'll go ahead and put that to update it. And there we go. Now we have a slug set up right here. And we click on it. It should take us to business/my-first-business. Now we haven't created this yet, but our URL is going correctly. So we know that everything here is working fine. Let's go ahead and create that business page now. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and create inside our front end. Let's go ahead and close some of this stuff out. We'll go ahead and create another folder inside of our pages folder. So we'll create a new folder. This will be called business. And inside of here, we'll go ahead and create a new file. And this, once again, will be like the categories. This will be called slug inside of square brackets.js. Okay, now let's go ahead and build out our business page. So what we'll do here is we'll create another function here. So do export default function. And this will be our business page. And we'll pass in nothing for now. Open up a function just like that. And for now, we'll go ahead and do a return. And for now, we'll return just the business page. So just business page, just so we know it's working. Did we mess something up? Oh, our slug's not inside of our business route. Let's move that there. Okay, it is working, but we just didn't put business inside of any tags, so it's going to throw an error. But we have everything working here. We can just add a div or something and it will work fine. And there we go. So now we have a business page showing up correctly. Let's go and build out this business page in a similar way that we built our category page. So first things first, we'll build out a business page with just some placeholder data, and then we'll make an API call to get the data from the database. So first things first, we'll bring in our layout, and we'll go ahead and import that here at the top. /components/layout. And that should bring in our navbar. Next, we'll go ahead and build out a grid, and we'll build out some different typography components, a list, everything else we need to show our business data. So inside of our layout, we'll go and delete this business page. Let's go ahead and add a grid to start, add a container, and then we'll go ahead and add a grid inside of here. This will be an item, and our size will be XS12. This is the same as what we did before, just setting the sizes just like this. And I'm going to kind of rush through this one because we did this already once. So I'm just going to do it real quick again. So typography, variant, equaling, H2. the reviews component, which we haven't built yet. So we'll do to do reviews component. Okay, next we want a button to add a review. So we'll add a div. Inside this div here, we'll add a button. And this is another Material UI class. This will be a variant equaling to contained and a color equaling primary. And these are just part of the documentation. You can look that up to see what it all does. This is just a type of button they have. It will be a filled in with the primary color. In this case, should be a blue color. And then we'll go ahead and write a review. And this will be a button to add review later on once we add that functionality. We'll go ahead and close off that button and then close off that div. Okay, and now below that, let's go ahead and add our description. And this, once again, we'll put inside a div as well. So a div, and then inside that div, we'll add a typography for our description. So typography, a variant equaling to P. And this will be our description. And then we'll add a typography and close that tag right there and close off our div. Okay, and that's pretty much the same as we did last time. All we're doing is creating a grid item and showing some data. And all we did differently here is we added a button so we can add a review later on when we add that functionality. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to create another grid item to go to the right of this, and this will hold a list. And a list is just another Material UI component that will make showing someone's data look a little better. At least in my opinion, I think it'll look a little better that way. So now outside of this grid item, let's go ahead and create another grid item. So we'll do a grid item, and once again, the sizes will be the same, excess of 12, and then an MD equaling to 6. Inside of this card, or it says grid here, we'll create a card, and inside of this card, we'll go ahead and create a list component, and inside of the list component, we'll create a list item, and we can create list items for every list, everything in the list we want. So we'll create like probably 4 different ones for different fields. So we have a list item first. Now inside this list item, we can put a list item text, and this will be a primary equaling, and this will be the text we want it to say, the primary text to say. So it's like a heading for this list item. And so first we'll put website, and then we'll put a secondary to actually be the actual website itself. In this case, just HTTP, whatever, test.com, whatever, just some placeholder for now. And we'll close off that list item text like that. Okay, and then we're going to close off this list item. And that's how we create list items inside of Material UI. Oh, we actually got to put these slash here in front, just like that. Okay, and now we're going to go and do this again for every item we want. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this down 3 more times. And for each list item, we have a primary text, which is the header, and our secondary text, which will be the actual value itself. So the next primary text will be address, and this will be address for now until we get the actual address from the database. Next we have is the phone. So we do phone, and this will be phone, and this will be hours, and this will be the business hours right here. Business hours. All right, there we go. Now let's go ahead and close off all of our tags, and that will be it. I think that should be all of our fields. There we go. Now, once again, I'm going to go ahead and bring this import statement in from the code. I don't want to have to type that all out. It's to save some time here. So we'll go ahead and just put that right there. And I think there's a few extra ones in here. Yeah, let's get rid of card content and get rid of the box and avatar. I think it should be fine. List item avatar, we're not using that either. Let's get rid of that. And that should be it. So you can grab that from the code in the description just to import all that in. All we're doing is import, and we put in curly braces all of the different components we use. So button, card, grid, link, list, whatever else. From Material UI/core. Okay, let's go ahead and save that now and take a look at this page. Okay, and right now, because we haven't our styles, it's going to be cut off, which is fine. We'll fix that here in a second. But you can kind of get an idea of how it looks, right? We have our first grid item over here on this half of the page, which has all the stuff we added there, the button, the description, the component, everything else. And then in the other grid component, the other side, we create this list, and it creates this card here and puts all of our stuff with the primary text and then the secondary text right there. And that should be really it for the material UI components. Hopefully that makes sense. It's really all in the documentation if you want to learn more about that. It's pretty simple to use, just like that. Okay, let's go and add some styles here and make this look a little better. So once again, above our React function here, we'll do a const use styles. This will equal make styles. And this will be the theme. And this is just what we did last time, so I'm not going to go over this. We're just going to go ahead and put this in here, just like that. Now we can go ahead and add some styles. So first we'll create a root class, and this will be a margin of, we'll say, 75px, and then we'll do a max width, once again, of, actually let's do margin top only, margin all the way around. Then we'll do a max width of 95 viewport widths. I'm not going to go over the styles in this video too much. I mean, this is, if you should know CSS already, if you followed all the other stuff we already did. And so I'm not going to go too in depth with that. But you can look up all these styles online if you don't know what they're doing. Most of them should be pretty self-explanatory. Next, we'll add an add review class and do a margin top of 15 pixels. And then we'll add a description. So first on our root grid here, I'm going to add the root class. So we'll do a class name equaling, and this will equal, inside of curly braces here, classes.root. And then down here on our div for our button, we're going to add this add review class. So on that div right here, we'll add a class name, and this will equal classes.add review. And then on the div for our description, we'll add the description class. And then on the div for our description, we'll add the description class. So add a class name equaling classes.description. Just like that. And that should be it. Let's go ahead and save that and take a look at our page. What is this error? Oh, I forgot to wrap this inside of the other parenthesis and put that down here as well. Okay, I just had an issue with that. Let's go back and take a look at this again. And at the bottom, we're going to go ahead and use the same get server-side props to get our data. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this right here. I'm going to copy that, come through here, and put that right down there. Okay, and this will look very similar. We'll have our export async function. We're getting the slug from the URL because we need the business slug to be able to get the data. And then we're going to go ahead and do a data await axios.get. And then we'll go ahead and go to localhost 8000 businesses to get the business and get it by the slug and pass in the slug right there. And then down here, we'll return the first business, but instead of calling it category, we'll call it business. There we go. We'll go ahead and save that. And then we'll go ahead and pull that data up here at the top. We'll pull out the business from our props like we did previously. Okay, let's go ahead now and just console log this and see if it looks correct. Okay, and we did import Axios, so we need to go ahead and do that first. So up here at the top, we'll do import Axios from Axios. And there we go. So now we have our data coming back from our API call right here. And we have our name, slug, description, everything we need. So now let's go and pass that data inside of our JSX right here. And this will be just like we did last time. We can go ahead and loop except we don't need to loop over anything this time. We can go straight from our business and just put that data inside of our fields. So what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and first come to the name, remove the name, and we'll add business.name. Price range, we'll go ahead and do once again in curly braces, business.price_range. The do review component will stay the same for now until we implement that later. The right review will stay exactly how it is. The description, go ahead and do business.description. Then we'll come down here and grab the other data for our list. So now instead of this being, so our primary text will stay the same, those are just the headings, but our secondary text will change to be the value. So we'll go to our secondary for our website, and this will be, let's get rid of this, business.website. Then down here, this will be business. This one will actually be a little more complicated once again because the address. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in curly braces, put in these backticks, and then we can go ahead and pass in all of the data into a formatted string right here. So we'll go ahead and do a $sign and our curly braces, and we'll do a business.street_address, put a space and do a $sign and do a business.city, and then we'll go ahead and do, actually we'll put a comma there, and then we'll go ahead and pass in our region, so business.region, and that is it for that. Down here, we'll pass in the business phone, so we'll get rid of this and do business.phone, and then finally we'll pass in the business hours as well. Just like that. Save that. Come back here, and you'll see all of the data in here. My first business, the $signs, to do review component, right view, and the description right down here, as well as all of the website information over here, as well as the address, phone, and hours. Perfect. And that is really it for this business page for now. Obviously, right now it doesn't look that great, and we can make some more changes to make it look better. But for now, just to get this page up and running, this is good enough. And that is really it for this video. Hopefully all that made sense. I kind of rushed through this business page because we kind of did the same thing with our categories. But that is really it. We'll come back later and we'll make this right review work. We'll add a review component. We'll make this page look prettier. You know, we'll add pictures. We'll add way to add categories and businesses and all that stuff. But for now, we'll stop here. The code will be linked in the description below, as well as links to the documentation for filters and everything else we used here. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.